Hey, what's up, guys? Jake here with another episode of On the Rise Music Podcast. Today, we are honored to have special guest DJ and producer FREEWILL. How's it going, man? I love your music.
Hell yeah. Good man. Good man. How are you?
Just trying to beat the heat. It's pretty hot here in LA. It's like I walk outside and it's just an oven, but I'm trying. I'm hanging in there.
Right on, man.
So I understand you kind of started producing music a little later than most people, or like really got into EDM a little later than people do. When was I understand you went to Future Forest, and that was when you really got into it. So how like what?
Sorry, it glitched a little bit
Oh,
right
of course,
there.
yeah, no worries. So I understand you got into EDM music a little later than most people. So like what was the? It was Future Forest, correct?
Certainly, yeah.
So like what happened there that you were just like, yo, I love this. Like I want to start doing this.
Yeah, man. So I went to the festival. First, I heard of the festival, and it was advertised as an electronic music festival in the province that I live in. So I live on the east coast of Canada.
Okay.
And anyway, I was 17, so I wasn't actually even the legal age to go. But I was like, yo, homies, like, there's
Yeah, I
this
mean you
thing.
gotta get in.
It's called Future Forest, and it's electronic music, and I don't even know what it's like, but let's go. And so I went with four other friends, I think. So there's a handful of us. We had a camp set up, and then basically on the Saturday night, I just was feeling the sub, like PK subs. There's like a wall of six of them, and so I'd never felt anything like a
Mhm.
PK sub before. That was like a new world to me, and so feeling that vibrate my throat and like I don't even know, just feeling choked out by the sub was just an addicting feeling. And then I thought, you know what, I want to I want to choke out people with the sub, and right now this guy DJing is doing that, so I better DJ. And so what happened is the next actually that night, that Saturday, I got split up from my friends, and I wound up in like the artist vendor area, so like behind behind the scene, I guess. And I was lost, and I was like, I don't know how I even got there. And it was nighttime, and a lady came up to me and was like, hey, like, how's it going, like, when are you performing? And I was just like, I am not performing, like, where? I think I'm in the wrong section. And she was like, oh, okay, and like led me out of
Yeah.
wherever I was, and I went off into the normal festival ground. And then the next morning on that Sunday, I was like reflecting, and I was like, what happened last night? That lady asked me when I was playing. And so then I was like, all right, yeah, I'm playing next year. I'm playing next
Yeah.
year. So after the festival, it was that Sunday night, and the festival was over on Monday. That week, I went out and bought a Mix Track Pro 3, just like a little $200 mixer, and
Yeah.
started mixing like kind of trap,
Hmm.
festival trap style stuff. And so that was like where the spark happened. And yeah.
That's your story is quite interesting. I personally like I don't know if I have that like comfort level like to just be like I've never listened to electric let's just go to a festival. Like dude, that's
Yeah.
that's that's great. Like you just putting yourself out there and like open experiences, literally that the whole thing, you literally just like fell in love. You felt everything about it. I totally understand what you're saying, like especially when you're at like a concert and stuff is just going, you're just feeling yourself, you're feeling the music, and you can physically feel it. It's insane. And that you were able to think to yourself and just tell yourself, I'm gonna do this. Like this is insane. What he's doing up there is literally he's creating energy, and he's putting energy inside a body. And dude, you being like, I'm gonna be there next year. Did you get there next year?
I performed, yeah.
There we go. Speaking it into existence. That's literally what I preach.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. So then I was 18, and it was like, haha, here I am. Now I'm
Yeah,
legal
finally.
performing. And so now the story continues. I go there for that year, and I perform. And then after I play my set, I got a sick set, man. It was Friday, 10 p.m. I don't know how I got that
Yeah, that's
set, but
perfect.
it was sick. Played for like 120 or like 200 people probably. And it was like sun was setting.
Hmm.
It was a vibe. And I felt that, and I was like, all right, this is like, wow. All right, let's let's see what happens. And so the next day, I I was walking down one of the trails and I saw one of the headliners. They go by Church. It's a
Oh,
duo, and
yeah.
they make lean bass is what they call it. It's super super awesome. Like it's like house trap. I don't even lean. It's like wiggly and like
Yeah, no,
deep.
yeah.
And so these guys, Church, I stopped them and I was like, yo, like, how do you guys get a better slot? Because they were playing Saturday at 1 a.m. So I was like, all right, like, how do I get that slot? I want to make more people dance. And so, um, can you still hear me?
Yeah, it just cut out for a little bit, but you're you're good.
All right, cool. Um, and so I asked Church, I was like, yo, how do you guys get better slots? And then they asked me, do you produce? Ding. That's when that light and seed was planted. And it wasn't for a whole other year until the first sprout came out. And so a year went by, and I was still only DJing. At this point, I'm in grade 12, and I'm looking at university and stuff, preparing to go into post secondary. And so I go into university, and I'm there for one semester studying leadership and philosophy. And during that one semester, I was like watching YouTube tutorials, and then this guy named Zen World, he I was really getting his tutorials, and I liked how he worked. And then he mentioned that Jaws and Nightmare had studied through Icon Collective, and so then I was like, "Ooh, what are these? What's this?" Because at the time, Jaws and Nightmare were like my two favorite artists, because I heard Field Volume at Future Forest, and I heard Street. I don't even know. I heard Street and Feel the Volume, and both of those vibes of like the housey, deep, wubby stuff that Jaws was doing, and then the trappy, tingy,
Hmm.
riddim kind of thing that Nightmare had going on. It was just a dream state. So I was like, these two. And then I heard from Zen World that both of these artists studied there. And so then I dropped out of university that semester. In 2018, in January, I started Icon Collective online. And
Okay.
then I did that for a year and a half and learned how to produce. So I really didn't know how to, I knew how to play guitar a little bit and like knew how to do some chords, and like I understood what fingering was, so I could maybe write some piano things, but I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to play. And so I felt so fortunate that I even got into Icon, because I felt like it was like people that played instruments or something that were going there. So I
Yeah.
felt like, I don't know, I got lucky. And yeah, so the story continued to there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've talked to a friend who's like a major photographer now for like a YouTube channel. Actually, he's a photographer. Oh, I mean, I haven't talked to him in a little bit, but he was a good friend of mine when we were growing up. And I talked to him a couple years ago, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, what happened? Like, how come you are a photographer for Face Clan? Why are you like? How did you end up like living with them and like connecting with them?" And he was like, "Look, it's as simple as like literally what you said, as simple as that. If you want to do something, you just got to do it. Like you have to
Yeah.
trust that something's going to come from it. You got to trust in yourself. You can't expect anything. You just got to do it. And like you dropping out of one semester, dude, and it's like what, like 3 months after that, you're like, yo, I'm
Literally.
gonna invest myself into this. I mean, all power to you, bro. Like, that's huge in order for you to make that huge step. I mean, what did your parents say after that? As I like, if I had done something like that, my parents
Yeah.
would have been like, you're paying for everything on your own.
Yeah, man. It was cool. My dad, fuck, such a cool guy. It took, while I was in like while I was there for that semester, my dad and I saw the tutorials and I was like, all right, you know what, Dad, maybe I don't want to do university. Maybe this isn't the right thing to do right now. And and the university was a couple hours away from where I was living.
Okay.
And so for 4 weeks, my dad would come up every Wednesday, and we had a meeting, like a little hour coffee break, basically. And he'd basically ask me, "Is this still what you want to do? Is music what you want to try? What's going on?" And so we spent, I think it was 4 meetings that we did, like over the course of a month. And basically at the end of that, I had his support, and he saw that because I wanted to know, is this irrational? Am I thinking irrationally? And so I think that's why he took it to say, let's have a few meetings, let's spread it out and see what happens. And so I was initially looking into Berkeley,
Oh,
and
okay.
I couldn't get in there. And then the tutorial, the Zen World tutorial came up, and I heard about Icon, and then I saw that it was an option, but online wasn't an option when I first saw it. And then like maybe 2 weeks later, and then it was an option. So then my dad and I talked about that, and then it just evolved. And then we just kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm either going to spend money for another 3.5 years here doing this, or I can spend money to try this for a year and a half. And so we did it. I just took the leap, and um, I'm really grateful.
Yeah, yeah, your dad, that was a great step that your dad took, because a
Yeah,
lot of
man.
people, they make irrational decisions where they're like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do something like, because I want to do it. And it's like, but for your dad to be like, okay, let's take 4 weeks, 4 different meetings, and sit down and talk about it to make sure your mind just wasn't a spur of the moment thing that you're just like, oh, I want to do this. More so where
Yeah,
you're like, I'm pretty sure you talked about plans and everything and how you're going to set it out. And yeah,
yeah,
that's like really smart of both you and your dad, because I know a couple people who have made like spur of the moment decisions without like really thinking about it and talking about it,
yeah,
like both with their parents and just thinking about it themselves, like trying to figure out, like just chewing it over, mulling it over, sleeping on it, whatever it may be. And they just regret it. They're like, I should not have done that. I should have like stayed there. I should have stayed where I was. I should have figured it out, like just grinded it out. But I mean, for you and your dad to really just sit down and talk about it, that's huge. Like I'm pretty sure your dad was pretty proud of you. Like at the end of it, where
yeah,
you're like, no, no, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm determined to do this.
yeah. He's been a huge support, and I'm definitely will continue.
Shout out to dads, bro. Shout out to
Yeah,
dads.
hell yeah. Shout out to dad, man.
Now you said that you like it seems like obviously this producing and like DJing came fairly easy to you. Was like, was guitar the only thing you played like when you were growing up, or were you pretty like musically inclined to like pick up an instrument?
I I didn't play. Yeah, I played guitar for a year. I had like lessons when I was 7 or 8. Not even on a full guitar, like on a ukulele type
Yeah.
size guitar. And then I just didn't like it. Didn't play any instruments from whenever that was like grade 2 until in high school when we like had to play an instrument for music class. And I chose piano, but I didn't learn anything, like nothing. I hated scales and I didn't understand any of it. Whereas now I'm like, oh man, had I have learned that stuff in high school, who knows
Oh
where I'd be
yeah.
right now.
Yep.
Like,
Hindsight's
and
2020.
so I didn't, yeah, like I didn't play really anything. I really just heard Feel the Volume and had my throat like choked out by a PK sub and was like, man, what the hell are vibrations? And I need to look into what vibrations do to our body and like get on that wave.
Yeah, that I mean, you're like the perfect example of, if you want something, you'll get it done. Like there's a lot of people that, I mean, even so much for me, I'm really into designing and stuff like clothing and brands and fashion. And
Sick.
I was, yeah, thank you. I was,
Yeah.
it was this summer when it took me like, why can't I do it? Like, what is stopping me from doing it? And I just did a little bit of research, searched a couple forums and everything. And I was like, dude, this is easier than expected. I talked to friends who made stuff, and I was like, this is a lot easier than expected. You can get done as long as you're determined and you're willing to just push yourself. Same goes with school, same goes with everything. Like you have to be a student of what you love in order to get to
Yeah.
where you want to be. Like you gotta, I'm pretty sure you've spent like copious hours just like grinding, like making beats, friends hitting you up like, hey, let's go hang out, like let's go like kick it, and you're like, nah man, I can't, like I'm sorry, but it's like, it must have been weird at the beginning, but I'm pretty sure they got around to it, and they're like, hey, like don't not invite him, but like we respect it, bro, like you're hustling, you're doing your thing. But yeah,
Easy.
I've talked to other artists too, like we've interviewed, same thing, like you got to cut
Yeah.
out the hours, you got to dedicate yourself, become a student of the game. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
it's paying off, trust me, it's totally paying off.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that was really interesting what you said about the vibrations. And I know in your SoundCloud, or your Spotify, excuse me, your Spotify link,
Yeah.
it says that your bio, it talks
I,
about how you want to like take advantage of that and use it
yeah.
for
Yeah.
positive. So do you want to go more into that and exactly how it works?
For sure. Yeah. So actually my dad and I were sitting there, and both of us really like binaural beats and just kind of putting them on and
Mhm.
feeling those waves. And so we were like, what even is a binaural beat? And we were trying to think of like, can I make them or whatever? And I was like, I don't really want to make droney half-hour long songs in one key. Like, I don't really want to make drone beats or whatever. So I looked up what is a binaural beat. And it turns out that a binaural beat is just, say we take a sine wave and we pan it all the way to the left, and we pan it, we take two tracks, one track of a sine wave, another track of a sine wave, both panned opposite ways, and then you pitch the frequency. So say they're both playing at C, and then we pitch one of them up 7 hertz.
Okay.
There's now a difference in the two of 7 hertz. So our brain then experiences a 7 hertz binaural beat, and I think that's like an alpha wave or something. So it's like
Okay.
more of like meditation, slow stuff. I need to pull the chart up in front of me to know them, but it was that little knowledge of learning that pan left and right completely, adjust the frequency by between 0 and 13, and you're gonna get a binaural beat of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12.
Mhm.
And those all range from sleeping meditative states to highly conscious and motivated states of awareness. And so the way that I kind of looked at it was like, all right, let's try to do this with elements in the song, because like in music we use pads and we use atmospheric things that we pan
Mhm.
here and there. So I thought, well, why don't I have this atmosphere that's playing, oh, like, why don't I just pan them left and right in addition to the one that I have doing its normal thing? I'll pan them left and right, put the frequency up 10 on one of them, and then play all three together so that the one intentional one is there, but then the binaural beat is also there too.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, it's making the listener experience that 10 hertz binaural
Mhm.
beat, whatever that is. And so I thought, like, I haven't even really implemented it in many songs. It was just kind of that idea, and kind of like, you know what, I don't know if any other artists have done this. And if we haven't, let's do this, because it's just a way to manipulate ourselves for the
Yeah,
better. I
definitely.
mean, obviously, any responsibility, right? The Superman quote or whatever, it comes with great power, there's great
Yeah.
responsibility or whatever. So obviously, people could then find frequencies that are all about fear or whatever, but that's cool too, right? If someone's using it in a creative sense rather than like some evil way to like broadcast some frequency like 5G or something, um, like that's cool. So I was thinking, like, let's like put the meditative way, like let's pan some stuff doing meditative frequencies during the intro, and then during the build up we'll have some other things panned left and right that are doing like an 11 hertz binaural beat, because that increases motivation. And then during the drop we'll have things panned doing gamma alpha waves, because those have like high energy, um, uh, like higher states of consciousness and more awareness. And so I was
Mhm.
like, well, why not? It's so subtle anyway. Like, it can be there or it can't be there, but if it's there, there's that intention of that, whatever you choose, right?
Yeah, that's like you said earlier. That's dude. That's super interesting. Like you kind of blew my mind. I was a little lost there, but I got what you were saying. Like if there's a way you can manipulate it to motivate people to do like whatever it may be, like you mentioned fear, whatever it is. That's super interesting because music does so much for people that I don't even think that the listener realizes. Subconsciously it like can make you feel a way that you probably wouldn't like feel without listening to it. So like
Yeah,
by doing what you're doing and manipulating the sound waves and frequencies, whatever it may be, you're
yeah.
essentially being like music is like therapy. Music
It,
can help you and heal you, whatever it may be. It can motivate you.
exactly, man. That's how I looked at it, because it I just saw it as an opportunity to add a little bit more intention and like good thought or like care or love or something. Um, yeah.
And I honestly, I've heard of, unknowingly putting certain albums in certain like ranges, pitches, whatever it may be, to make you feel a certain way. But I've never heard of I've never heard of someone consciously doing it and manipulating it in a way that you can motivate someone or help someone or make someone feel like they're in like a place of meditation and just calm.
Yeah.
That's super fucking interesting. Yeah, literally your music has good intentions. Like there's no one can hate it, because it's like if you don't listen to it, then you're not going to be a good person. If you listen to it, you're going to feel differently. You're going to feel like a good person.
Yeah.
Now I understand that you've developed like a sort of dubstep, like Riddim type sound.
Mhm.
Was that did you develop that before you started using the what is it, by by
Binaural beat.
binaural beats, or did it just come like as a result?
Um, it started before the binaural beat idea. I think that whole style has interested me so much because of the energy that it holds, that isn't really it's not like a human, it's not an energy that a human really gives to another human. It's like
Yeah,
this weird energy that's given from the human touching a computer, making computer sounds back to the human.
yeah,
And so something about like hearing these wonky metallic things, it's like my bio used to be the fact that I believe self-expression is how we channel the source energy into our world. And so any form of self-expression, true self-expression, is just that energy that is within all of us that we can't really put a finger on,
yeah,
coming through in an honest way through our filter of a body and experience and past trauma and stuff. And so I just kind of sit there, and for the past 2 years, it's been a lot of dubstep and like trappy, rhythmy stuff that's coming out. And at the start of the pandemic too, like I wrote this song called Zombies, and I'm gonna release it in October. But like I made it in May when the pandemic started, and it was just so like just an apocalyptic feel. Like it was like I was
yeah,
channeling this energy that the world was feeling at that moment, and I was just like, this sounds crazy. I'm not going to release it right now. I'm going to save it for October because it sounds like a Halloween beat, but I don't even have music for next month. And like, I was like, whatever, but like, yeah. And now last month I was making like some more future bassy stuff, and it just felt right. And I hear so much of people talking about like, oh, you don't want to get pigeonholed, or like, you don't want to,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, no, you don't. Like, just, just, yeah, just create. And if people are hating, then I mean, if you care about the hate, then it's something to look into. But yeah, ultimately, that's just been what's coming through me. And I think too, maybe like something to do with the space in between the hits
Okay.
when the sub comes in,
Yeah.
something about trap style or rhythm versus house being like a constant oomph, oomph,
Hmm.
oomph, oomph. The trap or rhythm, it kind of like there's a lot of space, and that space, it gives me a feeling of like of floating in the air, or like
Okay.
being suspended in this timeless area. And maybe that, like maybe subconsciously, that I'm driven to these styles because of that kind of timeless feeling that happens occasionally. I mean, it happens in all styles too. Don't
Yeah,
like
definitely.
it happens in any style, I guess you could make it. But yeah, just recently, I guess it's been the trappy, rhythmy things that are coming through.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the whole like pigeonholing and everything and not wanting to be stuck to a certain like genre or certain sound. But I talked to another artist and he said the same exact thing. I was like, how come why did you choose this? And do you feel like, because it was his name and he wanted his music to match his name. And I was like, do you
Yeah.
feel like you're restricted or pigeonholed or anything? And he was like, not so much, because if you know what you're doing and you're aware of your sound and everything, you
Yeah.
can just perfect it. And
Yeah.
eventually, like, if you're good at one thing, then people always need that one thing. Like, my
Yeah.
dad always mentions like McDonald's, and he's like, McDonald's is good at making like just a simple burger, and
Yeah.
they just sell that simple burger. In-N-Out, actually, In-N-Out, my bad, it was In-N-Out. He's like, In-N-Out only
Yeah.
makes one thing, two things are on the menu. It's just burgers and fries and milkshakes. That's it. But mainly
Yeah.
people go there for the burgers. And if you perfect that one thing, the burger, people are going to keep coming back. So like you said,
Yeah.
like you can feel pigeonholed, but if you learn how to perfect it and to just do it really well, you're going to be successful.
Mhm.
I mean, you're doing numbers right now. You're like,
Yeah.
it's showing, like you knowing what your sound is, and like working on the binaural beats and everything. It's showing. So yeah, you're doing something right. Like, don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course. Like with all the like the given success and everything, have you had any artists reach out to you, be like, hey, I want to like work with you, I want to help you out, here's a couple pointers, or is it just like just people just like silently watching from the back?
Basically, it's a lot of silent watching. I have most of my motivation and most of my drive from Icon and my mentors that I had during that time. Um, Protohype, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a dubstep, like, bass kind of artist too. He was one of my mentors during Icon Online, and he broke me out of that shell, jump into sound design. And I think just him telling me, like, yo, go, like, just do sound design or something, that opened up a whole world that I had never even knew existed. And it was kind of like, I guess it would be like any creative thing. If you write or if you sing or like paint or something, if you write or paint, it'd be like learning that you have a lot of color, that you can go buy more colored markers.
Yeah.
I like learned that, like, holy crap, this, I can make any sound and they're all going to be different. Like,
Hmm.
it's just that it was just this opportunity of endlessness that I hadn't really realized was there. And that kind of drove me to want to try it.
Hmm.
Now I've just, even now I'm still like just messing around basically. A lot of the tutorials I go and watch, these guys that I look up to, they're saying, oh, you just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And like Eliminate, he's another huge inspiration too. And like, he's one of his tutorials, he looks at the camera and he's like, we're all about finding the laziest solution that's going to yield the greatest result. And he's just so like so like bland and chill about it, but like here he is still like making people move on their Friday night, having a blast. And it's just like, but it's not like there's no urge, there's no
Hmm.
need. It's just like it is what it is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. People, yeah, I totally understand that. Like, you have to work smarter, not harder, like in anything. And um, I mean, yeah, you want it to feel effortless, like especially just in artwork in general. Like, you don't want to feel like you're trying too hard, whatever it may be, music, like
Yeah.
painting, design, whatever it is. You just don't want to feel like you're trying too hard, even though you are like working your ass off and busting
Yeah.
your ass.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but I mean, like what you do, like you watch videos, it becomes like almost second nature to you.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what you're saying. Same thing comes from me. I mean, as simple as it is, like the clothes I wear, the stuff I wear, it became second nature to me, because I just was looking at pictures, I was finding out like designers, models, like whatever the drops were coming out, and I was like getting information. It took me like so much. Like, I started getting into fashion like about 4 years ago, 3 4 years
Yeah.
ago. And like, yeah, you study it, you just have to study it. And like you're doing with music, I mean, are you done with are you out of Icon Collective, are you finished with
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, it's funny. Like some of the students that like are new to Icon and join like the group chats or something, they're like, oh, like I don't want it to end. Like I don't feel ready or whatever. And here I am. I've been like out of it for over a year, and I'm like, I want to say like, bro, I've just finished watching a YouTube tutorial and I'm gonna watch another one. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm just trying to learn. Like like I'm finding that it's really enjoying learning, and like
Hmm.
Jaws in a JBL talk show, or like whatever, a JBL speech, something. He's like, once I learned the no shortcut, that's when everything changed.
Oh, for sure.
And hearing him say that, it's kind. I'm feeling that ideology kind of. I'm kind of feeling out what that feels like, and it feels like pretty accurate. The no shortcut is the
Exactly.
reality of life, I'm guessing.
Oh, totally. I totally agree. And I mean, you sound like you're like always hungry for knowledge. Do you like read books? Is there like a
Oh
favorite book
yeah,
of
man.
yours?
I just finished. Actually, I'm like 6 pages, almost finished a book called Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and that's been a really solid book. Yeah, it's been a super solid book. It hit a lot of points. And then another book called Personal Freedom by uh, S. Dykman, I think. Um, and it's all about, it's a philosophy book, and it kind of dives into um, super existential stuff about like when we talk about I and me and myself, and where those ideas come from and stuff.
Hmm.
A lot of that stuff influences me in the way that I go about everything, I guess. um, I'm super, like, I find a lot of, I'm very curious about the metaphysical and about non-local sciences
Okay.
and stuff. I was actually super fortunate as my graduation gift. My dad sent me to this thing called IONS, which is a conference that happens every year. I don't know if it's happening this year because of the pandemic,
Yeah,
but
everything's going on.
it's called the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And
Okay.
what noetic sciences are the sciences that mainstream science kind of look at as voodoo or woo woo, because
Oh, okay.
they're studying non-local
Hmm.
things. So non-local means not physical. And so our physicists who explain how the world is running right now, that's how everyone is living their life, based on
Hmm.
physics. And so my dad was like, yo, here's your graduation gift. I'm going to send you a loan. Send me a loan to Oakland. So I went from East Coast of Canada alone over to the West Coast in
Yeah.
Oakland for 4 days or 3 days to this IONS conference, where I heard Rupert Sheldrake. He's been a huge influence, and like these other PhDs and just like scientists that have studied
Hmm.
masters and things talk about telekinesis and past lives and channeling and mediumship, and they're talking about it as if they believe it, right? And so it's like, all right, I'm gonna believe it too. These guys went to school for 10 years or whatever. I'm just out of, this is my graduation gift. People are asking me like, how old are you? I'm like 18. Like, and they're like, how'd you get here? Like, my dad sent me. And then they're like, well, where's your dad? Like, I don't know, he's gonna be here next year or something. Like, so like experiencing that too, like that was that was before I started producing. That was the
Hmm.
week before I performed for the first time, and then asked church like, yo, what do I do? And so
Yeah.
there's been a lot of influence by this metaphysical kind of non-local aspect, which is super cool, because like I said earlier, I strongly believe that self-expression is humans channeling a source energy
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Of course. Like I actually, my dad has that book, the how to, or the no asshole rule, and I was like,
Yeah,
I've literally been thinking about reading it. So
the
like, I
subtle art
mean,
of not
hearing,
giving a fuck.
yep, so hearing you talk about it, like I might take a look. But exactly what you're saying is like, I believe kind of in the same whole, like the whole metaphysical, like people, like energies and everything. Because I just, a couple months ago, I was like having like a terrible time, like mentally. My best friend from college, like transferred, went back home to Georgia. And I was
Mm,
just like, I thought I was okay. I kept lying to myself. And then it just one day, like he came and visited, or a weekend he came and visited, he left. And then like, that was the day where everything came out. I was lying to myself about how I felt. My energy was like fake. Like it was all like fake. Cause I was trying to put on a persona for people. And like, I picked up meditating and everything. Didn't think it was going to work. I just was like, I'm just going to go into it.
Yeah.
Changed my life. I've been doing it every day for the past, since November 11th was the first day I started doing it.
Yeah.
So fuck, like 8 months, maybe.
Nice.
7-8 months. But yeah, what you're saying is the non-local sign, that stuff is so interesting, because it's like, how do you prove it's real? But there are people really out there still proving that it works and it's real. And I get into arguments all the time, discussions, probably be a more suitable word for it, like with my parents, with friends, talking about that there's a lot of energy, like you can feed off of energy. I'm hearing a lot of talks now too, that if you like exude a certain energy, people will pick up on it. But also you have to like read the energy of the room and everything in order for people to like listen to you and be a great leader and everything. But yeah, I mean, your dad sending you there was probably, I mean, it probably kicks, did it help like with the music production and everything? Or you were able to like, I'm pretty sure, because you could channel your energy.
Dude, I did, because
you're good. Sorry about that.
okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think it totally does, because it's that idea of self-expression is us channeling a source energy. And I just kind of read some things that said like, you want to find I guess I was going through a hard time too, kind of not knowing like, what is life? Like, what are we doing?
Definitely.
Why am I like, what is the point of life? Like, what are we doing? So I looked into things and saw that like, you should have something that is creative. You should have a creative outlet. You should have some like leisurely thing that you can do that's like just fun for yourself, and then something that makes you money. And so I was like, okay, I haven't really been creating much. And because through high school, I was just like smoking a lot of weed and skateboarding, and like wasn't really doing anything creative. And so I think there was this like this point where I was like, man, I'm kind of going down the drain right now. I need to use myself. Like I need to find some purpose.
To use. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. And so I kind of just came across this idea that being creative at the truest, most present state, it's not even you creating. It's that life force that channels through us. And what comes out onto the screen is essentially the parts of that thing that isn't me that is now reflecting what is me back at me. So it's like that energy is going through my filter, and then I see the filter back at me. And so now thinking about this, I guess like the dubstep and rhythm kind of trappy, suspenseful stuff, like maybe there's something suspended somewhere, and I'm kind of like, you know, like I feel like being an artist is like a life is learning who you are through creating and stuff. And so I'm kind of adopting that like my creation is also what I'm going to learn from, and I need to make sure that I'm putting out a proper story. And actually now I'll go into it. I made sure that my songs, the first songs that I released, were like gonna set me off on this right foot. So if you look at my discography or whatever it's called, the first song I released is called Open Your Mind. And so that's to remind me that you got to have an open mind. Just believe. And then the next song that I released was called Into the Consciousness. And so it's like, go open your mind and go into that thing that is ideas and see what's there. And the next song that I released was Do Not Be Afraid. And so it's telling me, you know what, you're in this space. Do not be afraid. And then the fourth song that I released was What's Going On. And so that's kind of just like, there's going to be some shit. It's going to be chaotic. You're going to go through that stage of what's going on. And then the next song that I release is called Break It Down. And that's basically to say, look, you got shit. Nothing's going to change. You have to break it down. We have to look at what's going on. We have to break down what's going on. And then the next song that I released is called Cyborgs. And that's essentially how I see the the evolution of humans. I see us going in a direction of kind of being cyborgs because our flesh isn't really, we can't stay in it for long, right? We die.
Yeah.
we get
Yeah.
our energy goes
Material
somewhere else.
body, exactly.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's kind of what's coming is cyborgs, and the hook of that song is the cyborgs are here. And it was one of my favorite songs too. And I was like, okay, I'm releasing this. The cyborgs are here. And now I have these other 4 songs to look back at too. Like, bro, open your mind into the consciousness. Just go in with that
Hmm.
open mind. Do not be afraid. What's going on? Like, it's going to be chaotic. What's going on? But break it down. And then the cyborgs, like the cyborgs are here. The new level is here. And then the next song that I released was called Astonishing World. And it's basically just I quote Alan Watts in it, or I sampled Alan Watts because I really like the way he talks and stuff too.
Okay.
Um, and he's right before the drop. It said, or like somewhere in the song, it says like, imagine falling asleep and never waking up. And that kind of is like the trigger. I think should be is a good trigger for a lot of motivation in people's lives. Is like
Mhm.
fear of death is like a huge
No,
motivation for a
totally.
lot of things, right? And so that song I released, The Astonishing World, being like, astonishing world, like our world is crazy and we don't really know how to explain it,
Mhm.
but let's get it. And that was my first song that I released of 2020. And that's actually on the same day I released a song called uh, Your Future, and the hook of that is we are your future, and then it goes into the drop. And so it's like, all right, I don't even know if whether this is like, I know it's just a sample that I chose, but like I'm gonna look at it as someone else, like I chose it, but like with the help of this energy that isn't me,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna help use it to motivate me forward. And so now I've just kind of been releasing as I'm as I'm evolving, but
Yeah.
those initial songs were kind of like that was the intention there.
That, I mean, like we said earlier, knowing what you're doing and like perfecting it, that's really interesting. That you were like, I'm gonna do this literally with the title of my music. I'm kind of it's a guided meditation almost in a
Exactly,
way.
dude. That's exactly what it is. And if you look at it even deeper, um, the cover art for Open Your Mind, it's a circle, which is actually called the seed of life. And so I don't know if you've heard of the flower of life. It's like a
Maybe in passing, but
yeah.
I didn't really hear much more about it.
So it's just like it's like sacred geometry. If you've heard that word too,
Mhm.
it's one of the bases of a lot of geometry. Is this flower of life, and what it is like circles overlapping each other, going
Oh
around.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so the open your mind is the one circle, it's the seed, and then into the consciousness is the two circles.
Hmm.
So it's the flower of life growing, and then the third song is the three of them. And so it's like the song, the whole brand or whatever is evolving now. We're now 3 pieces here.
Yeah.
And the next song was 5, and it was like the flower of life is growing more. And then the next song was it was a full flower of life. And then Cyborgs was the cyborg, but still in the background, the flower of life is there. And yeah, that was a lot of influence from the Art of Flow
Hmm.
course, which was part of Icon, which kind of just reiterated all of this knowledge that I kind of learned at Ions, and just kind of just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks and going with the flow type mentality.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's super like your creative process and everything is, it's like mind blowing to me. You saying like your creativity and what you come out with is a reflection of who you are and like your energy. Like it just made me see and like witness what I'm doing. Like when you were talking about that, I was really just thinking about that, just like piecing it together, taking it apart, like just trying to figure out, like trying to understand what you're saying. And the more I thought about it, like the more you were talking about it, I was like, dude, like it's you in the stuff that you're putting out. It's literally just a reflection of you, and that's an insane way to think about it. Um,
Yeah.
but energy is like constantly flowing and everything. So yeah, if you put something out that you made, it's going to have your energy, and someone else sees it, they like it, the energy is just flowing. Dude,
Yeah.
I would have never thought of it that way. Thank you for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, of
And I
course,
mean,
man.
everything with the music and everything that you're doing, trying to incorporate like the whole energy flow and everything. I mean, we definitely need a whole shift in energy, especially right now,
Well,
everything going on in the world.
yeah, like I feel like that's part of what the pandemic is doing to us
Oh,
as
definitely.
society. Like everyone is going through mini awakenings of like things that they didn't know before
Hmm.
about themselves, or how maybe they need to bike more, or some just these little things that this time has given us to think about. And now for me to kind of see like to be part of this pandemic, I guess, and to realize that like we really are one humans, like
Oh,
we're one
definitely.
energy, and how I'm being as an individual is going to affect how us as a whole is. And to an extent that takes a lot of responsibility to try to hang on to that, but I think too it kind of makes room for some selflessness and some unconditional um, love and respect for others. And yeah, it's I kind of just want to get to like I believe in a utopian world, and
Oh, of
I
course.
believe that it's possible. And yeah, like I see the quotes that say if you're born in a world that you don't fit, like you're here to make one that you do. And things like that kind of sit in the back of my head a little bit when I start worrying or overthinking. It's like break it down. Like
Yeah.
I'm when I'm doing that, it's like what's going on? That's the state I'm in. What's the next step? Break it down. And then once you break it down, well, we're the cyborgs and we're in an astonishing world. So
Hey,
yeah.
honestly, could not have said it any better than that. I could chop it up with you all day talking about existentialism, just like different type of philosophies. But I'm sure you're a busy man. You got to produce some beats. You got to go have some dinner with your family.
Yeah.
Got to spend some time with your amazing dad. Um, but I just want to ask you one question. I mean, it's
Yeah.
technically two part question. But what is one thing you would tell up and coming artists or like a past self of you, like when you're getting started,
Yeah.
like one piece of advice? And like is there anyone you're working with, anyone you're listening to right now that you want to give like a platform to? Just shout them out.
Yeah. I think for sure, uh, like it sounds corny as hell, but
No,
go with
go
the
ahead.
flow. Like
There you go.
the flow is just going, and I don't really know where. If you're not in the flow, then you're not in the flow. So like just go with the flow. And like the one guy that deserves it is Shrike. Man, he is a homie. I just released a song with him on Friday. He's
Yeah,
younger than me,
I
and
was actually playing that
he,
one
yeah, man,
earlier today.
he is above and beyond with his sound design and just saying like that love for just life and just making these random sounds that not the majority of the world will understand, but the fact that it's just coming from a place of that unconditional love and curiosity, creativity, that if you feel that, just go with it. Yeah.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we wrap things up. We had Free Will come out today. Thank you again for for talking with me, just chopping it up, giving us a little insight into your creativity. Go check him out on Instagram. That is at Free Will, correct?
At freewill_official.
At Free Will_official. Don't forget to listen to his music. Don't forget to like and subscribe our old videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe for this video. Thank you guys. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on our next episode. Peace.
Peace.